endometriosis. I don't know how pumped you guys are, but I am freaking totally pumped. The reason why is because this is episode number 3, my friends. And not only that, this is part 2 of 2. I feel like that talk show, remember the dating show? Okay, totally off track. But it's like 2 and 2 sort of thing. Anyways, part 2 and 2 of my endometriosis series that I am thrilled about because last week we talked about food. This week we're going to do a little bit of food talk, but then we're going to transition into supplements, lifestyle, and guess what? We're going to be doing more giveaways because who doesn't like free shit, right? Yeah. All right. So I don't know about you, but this just brings up one very epic question, and that is, are you ready? If so, let's do this. Hey there, I'm Melissa Ramos, nutritionist with a background in Chinese medicine, and I'm also the boss babe of sexy food therapy. Yep, getting the thumb guns out today. Really thrilled because the things I talk about is what I'm most passionate about, and that is hormones and poo. Yeah. And today we're going to be diving into a lot of stuff. I'm really thrilled about this because I'm going to be giving away some stuff, but that's happening at the end. So you got to make sure that you stay, okay, guys? And the thing that I really want to be able to stress to you is you got to listen. Because if you want to get the couple of giveaways that I am going to be putting out there, you got to listen to the information, okay? So first and foremost, I'm seeing people just literally light up the chat box, which is great. I really encourage you. This is like me checking in. I really encourage you guys to write down your questions. I encourage you guys to give this a thumbs up, give me some hearts, show me some love, share this, because if you know anybody who's got endometriosis or who is really struggling, share this TV, SFT TV, live stream, whatever you want to call it, share it because sharing is caring. So give me some love today because we all could use it, right? Anyways, so last week we spoke a little bit about a correlation that seems to be coming up in research with endometriosis. Now, if you missed last week, or part 1 of 2 on endometriosis, what I actually spoke about was that there is now, we're seeing a correlation with autoimmune. That is endometriosis an autoimmune condition? We don't really truthfully know why it starts. We do know that it's an estrogen-related condition because estrogen means grow. We do know that there is likely a progesterone deficiency. We're going to talk about that today. But what we also didn't realize is that it could potentially be autoimmune, but we don't really know because of the fact that there isn't this specific antibody that you can test like you could with, say, Hashimoto's, where there actually is an antibody that you can test to see if you've got Hashi's. Hashi, no. So with endometriosis, one of the things that if it is, in fact, related to being an autoimmune condition, we have to take care of the gut. And so I really want to be able to break this down into various sections so that you guys can be able to understand that. Now, if you're having problems seeing this live stream right now, just refresh the page. Do that a couple of times, but it seems like everybody is doing just fine. So first and foremost, I want to say this. Digestion, no matter what hormone condition it is, guys, is absolutely key to look after and to evaluate. Like, I've seen so many people who've got hormonally related issues and their diet isn't on par. They're on medications. They're taking a bunch of supplements that they're like, oh, I don't even know if this is working. Don't know. And nothing is actually shifting. And today we're actually going to also be talking about one major thing that pretty much all endo sufferers, and a lot of you, actually, I'm gonna put it right out there. I'm going to be as bold as to say that most women actually forget this one very big thing. And I'm not going to reveal that till a little bit later. So with endometriosis, as in any hormone condition, we have to look at the gut. And especially if it's true that this could be an autoimmune condition, we have to see that there obviously is going to be an issue with a leaky gut. Because if you've got an autoimmune condition, there is a leaky gut happening. And with your intestines, usually the junctures, I call them like soccer players in cute little Italian soccer uniforms, because they're always the tightest on the Italian team. You know what I'm saying? They're really tight. But when you have a leaky gut, they start to become permeable. So stuff begins to go in and out of it, and it's not a good thing, because then your body looks at it when it goes into the bloodstream and it screams out, "Invader!" And that isn't good. So this is when we start to begin to see an autoimmune condition. And in endometriosis, there actually has been shown that women have higher levels of an antibody called IgG, which is the antibody that when there is a delayed response to a food. So for example, I eat corn, or I eat an apple, something, let's just say a food, okay? I eat it, but I don't get a reaction until 3 to 4 days later, which makes it really challenging to assess, well, what is it that I'm reacting to? And you can get your IgG antibody tested from a functional medical doctor, from a naturopathic doctor. I actually do refer to my little pool of naturopathic doctors that I work with, and definitely a practitioner who likes to work with other practitioners, because we all have our different strengths and so forth, and let's help each other out, right? So you definitely can get that done. But if there is high levels of IgG in endo sufferers, then that would lead me to think that there probably are some food intolerances happening. So this is really important, because if that's the case, the easiest part to be able to understand this is to remove all the allergenic foods. The really big ones, the ones that are kind of the no-brainer ones that a lot of people are still consuming. I mean, gluten, dairy, corn, sugar is definitely going to be a doozy for the gut. Alcohol, believe it or not, coffee. I know that these are all things that, some of us just kind of cling to, but those are big ones. And so, if those are already out of your diet, then I would suggest getting an IgG panel done, because that's really important. I also want to stress the importance of adding in very therapeutic foods. You want to make sure, especially now, if like I live in Toronto, and right now spring is here, kind of. It's a little confused. It's a little manic lately, but it's pretty much coming. This is the time for the liver, so you really want to consume liver-loving foods. And in Chinese medicine, that is anything from green foods, which are very rich in magnesium, your muscle relaxing mineral. That mineral also helps and aids in liver detoxification, believe it or not. It makes us feel calm. At one point, they said 70% of the population is deficient in magnesium. I think it's way higher than that, because for every molecule of sugar that you consume, believe it or not, it requires 64 molecules of magnesium just to process it. So when we start to see people clenching their jaw like this, I don't know, and anybody here a grinder at all? As in, like, I totally didn't mean that in a sexual way whatsoever. That was really bad. Too far? So anybody here clench or grind their jaw? Wow, I went almost too far on that one. So yeah, anyone here grind their jaw, let me know. Write it down below. I know I did, to the point that I had headaches. And the second I actually removed the coffee, I was totally fine. So I always suggest get off of it for a month. Even alcohol, just give your body the break. You're going to honestly reap the benefits of it. I've got people laughing at me here. I totally didn't mean that as a sexual joke. I swear to God, sometimes inappropriate things come out of my mouth. I'm sorry. So I've got Diana who says, I am. Misty says, yes, huge. Tessie says, yes. So I'm not alone here. If you're drinking coffee, even 1 cup a day, and you know you 1 cuppers, because you guys are the ones that always like, but I only have 1 cup. But you're still grinding your jaw, aren't you? And you're really stressed, aren't you? Just saying. So those are big things. Liver-loving foods. Again, those greens, water, really, really, really important. Adding in water. If you don't have water, you are going to have what's called liver qi stagnation, which means pellet poop, feeling irritable. your body is made of 70% water. If you're not drinking enough water, you're going to feel like crap. And I do want to be able to give you guys a little bit of a trivia time. And as I always call this time, and I just got to grab my pen and grab out my little kombucha. It is kombucha, it's not wine. It's that time. It's quiz time. Last week we played a quiz. This week we're going to do it again. So I'm going to actually take you guys into my kitchen, and I want you guys to be able to understand an awesome liver-loving food. It's my favorite, and I'm going to be asking a question. I want you guys to post your question or your answer below, and I'm going to check back in just a sec. Hey guys, I'm thrilled about this part of our SFT TV. I'm going to be giving you some food therapeutic goods, and I'm also going to be testing your knowledge. So, my favorite liver-loving food, which you need if you've got endometriosis, is beets. The reason why, here are many reasons why. Number one, contains pectin, which is a fiber. Now, this fiber found in beets actually helps to sweep away a lot of toxins from the liver so it doesn't get reabsorbed into the body. Number two, it's also a phenomenal source of betaine. Betaine is wonderful because of the fact that it helps the liver naturally detoxify, and it also helps to protect the bile ducts and lower inflammation. And the third thing that a lot of people don't know, it helps to increase stomach acid. Now, you might be a little bit worried about that thought because you might think, hey, I already have acid reflux. But the realization is that a lot of people who have acid reflux actually don't have enough stomach acid, so the body begins to overproduce it. So, here is my skill testing question about beets. Are you ready? Okay, multiple choice. Betaine, that substance we talked about, is it 1? Is it a fiber? Is it 2? Is it an amino acid? Or is it 3? A mineral. So which one is it? Is it a fiber, an amino acid, or a mineral? Let me know, comment below, and let's see if I can test your knowledge. Hey guys. All right guys, let me know what you guys think it is. So I listed out 3 different options. Fiber, is it an amino acid, or is it a mineral? So I'm looking at here. So Kristen says 1, Melissa says 2, another Melissa says 2. There's a phenomenal names. Phenomenal name. Elena says 3. Wendy says a fiber. Number 2, fiber. 1. Wow, the answers are all over the place. This is crazy. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I am curious because this is going to be our first giveaway. And there's going to be a second giveaway at the end, so make sure that you hang tight. We are going to do some more giveaway for St. Francis products. I've got here Hepato DR, and I'm going to be talking about that in just a hot second. So I'll show you right over here. Can you guys see that? Hepato DR? Yeah, baby. I think we're focused now. All right, so the answer, my friends. Oh my goodness, there's so many of you guys commenting. Oh my God. Okay, the answer is actually number 2. Number 2. And the first person who wrote that, number 2, was, oh sweet heavens. Okay, is Melissa Grondin? Grondin, I want to say is your last name. I'm really sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but I pronounced your first name right because it's a beautiful first name. Melissa. Just checking. Grondin. Okay, so, all right, so Melissa, you are the winner of that. I'm going to be doing another giveaway in just a bit. I want to make sure that you guys share this right now, so if you haven't done that yet, please do so. So definitely, believe it or not, betaine is an amino acid. And it is a wonderful amino acid. It's amazing because it actually helps to really fire up that digestive fire, that hydrochloric acid, which is important. And that's what I mentioned in that video. So definitely that I want to be able to stress. It's pronounced A-OK. Okay, sweet. Okay, so moving on to more supplement stuff because I want to make sure we get to all of this. The first thing is, people are always like, what can I take, Melissa? And I always say to them, number one, how's your digestion like? Most women who come to me go, it's to be desired. So if you are not pooping on a regular, there is absolutely no reason why you should be taking all these hormone supplements. Like, I see women taking like, Vitex and Dim and all these different hormone supplements, but their bowels aren't even moving. And that's actually can be quite dangerous, because once you're starting to try to detox those hormones out of your system, where do you think they go? They go into your poop to try to be eliminated. But if your poop isn't actually moving things through, you're going to have a really hard time. It's going to end up recirculating, because you have all these blood capillaries attached to the intestines that are going to essentially suck up a lot of that toxicity and those hormones. It's going to get reabsorbed by the body, essentially. Who here actually can outright admit that their digestion is to be desired? If that's how you feel, please let me know, because I know that a lot of people suffer with this. So first and foremost, as I mentioned, those allergenic foods are huge part of the picture, big time. If you find out that the allergenic foods are removed, so all the inflammation, because when you're consuming foods that you're allergic to or intolerant to, you build up inflammation, and that's the last thing you want with endometriosis, because it is a condition that is an inflammatory condition. So if you've taken all that out, the biggest thing is we have to be able to clean the terrain. So it's kind of like gardening, right? You're not going to try to plant a bunch of flowers if you haven't actually tended to the soil. And that's essentially what we're trying to do. So we have a bunch of people here who are saying, yep. Wendy is like, we've got Lee saying terrible. Karen says mine is bad. Yep, Sarah. So out of those who said yep, how many of you guys can say that you're eating any of the foods that are on the no list and are still struggling with endo? So really admit to that, because that's a huge part, because there is no magic bullet. You got to make sure that you're actually taking care of your gut. And to do that is to be able to start clean and wipe that out. Fiber, really important. And I'm not just saying from a supplement perspective, but if you're somebody who's been like, oh yeah, I'm doing low carb and I'm doing a low carb diet. A low carb diet can actually be quite detrimental if you're not actually consuming enough fat. So, a lot of people are having a lot of salads and then they're wondering why they're not full. The problem is that salads alone don't have enough fiber to keep you full. So we're looking at fiber-rich vegetables. Those are going to be incredibly important to get the bowels moving. Things like broccoli, things like cauliflower, carrots, beets, as we mentioned, one of my favorite liver-loving foods. Radishes. In Chinese medicine, radishes are phenomenal for dampness. And endometriosis in Chinese medicine is considered a damp condition. This is when the digestive system, when you're eating, you put crap in it. And then that digestive system, which is, let's just say, are two gears of an engine, and you put crap in there, all of a sudden those gears begin to slow down and they don't function the way that they should. So gunk, it's not a technical term, begins to actually build up in those gears, and dampness begins to happen. This can loosely be sort of thought of as candida, but loosely. So when I see someone who's got dampness, I see a lot of inflammation that's happening. I can see the vaginal health might not be ideal. There might be yeast infections. There might be BV. Endometriosis, that's dampness happening outside of the uterus, on the fallopian tubes, on the ovaries, or on the bowels, wherever the endometrial tissue is actually growing. So radishes are phenomenal, actually, for that. But, if you are eating all those fiber-rich vegetables and it's still not enough, I would suggest, obviously, water, making sure that you're getting in something like fish oils, because fish oils are an anti-inflammatory. Fish oils are going to be something that's going to help to lubricate those pipes. But in addition to that, adding in fiber. Now, everybody's bowels are different. So what one fiber is going to work for one person might be different than the next. And generally what I suggest is something like psyllium, taking about a half a teaspoon to start, because if you kind of go by the directions on the bottle, quite often what you'll see is that it just seems so much higher And it might actually feel quite uncomfortable. You might get bloating, you might feel gassy, you might feel very uncomfortable. So start off with about a half a teaspoon is a great way, and you would do that away from food. Always about an hour and a half, 2 hours away from food, or even half an hour before you eat. And the reason why, and this is before food, medications for sure, and supplements, because if you took the fiber and then you're popping supplements, that fiber is going to bind to that supplement, and then that supplement will, or medication will be slowly released into the body, which is what you don't want. You want to act quickly, and we want to make sure that we're getting things out as much as humanly possible. Marissa says, mine fluctuates. Lynn, been a lot better since working with you. Yes, Lynn has been kicking butt. I've removed dairy, gluten, grains, sugar, and still, generally, if there's still an issue that's happening and your gut is still, not doing the greatest, like I said, add in some fats. Make sure you add in some fats like some fish oils. Make sure that you got the water in there. If it's still not optimal and you're like, I'm still super constipated, that can happen. And what I generally suggest at that point is go in for a session for colonics. If that's too expensive for you and you're like, you know what, it's not in the budget right now, you can even do an enema, okay? And I know that just sounds like crazy pants, but it actually can help because it can try to get a lot of old matter moving through the bowels. So that's a really big one. Oh, you love the hat. Thanks, girl. The other thing that I would suggest, obviously probiotics, huge. We were talking a lot about how bacterial balance is super important. Obviously, my favorite are from Natron, a phenomenal probiotic. This is where I always start people off. It's a 3-bottle, there we go, 3-bottle system. So essentially you just be taking one capsule from each bottle at breakfast. But the thing that I have to say is that bacterial balance is always off when we see an autoimmune condition because there's a leaky gut. So we have to be able to re-inoculate that. And probiotics can actually help to heal a leaky gut. So it's really important that we actually add that in. Are canned beets okay? I wouldn't suggest it because a lot of the times with canned beets, you're going to see a lot of preservatives that have been added to it. So just get a beet, quarter that sucker, put it on a roasting pan and let it roast. It literally won't take you long at all. Would you recommend cooked or raw beets? It's a really great question, Christine. So beets are a type of food that you can have cooked or raw, but if you struggle with digestive issues, you want to make sure that you're not consuming too much raw. And the reason why is because with people who've got a weak digestive system, which I find is quite often with women who've got hormonal issues like endometriosis, their digestive fire, which is your stomach acid, so when you eat, it goes into your stomach and it's supposed to burn up so that you can assimilate it. You can begin that digestive process. But that stomach fire, that digestive fire is weak. So adding in raw food, which has a cold thermal property, according to Chinese medicine, will actually extinguish that fire. And that's why we'll see that a lot of people who eat raw foods, even like smoothies, can't tolerate them. They get a lot of bloating. So make sure that you cook your food. So between that question, I would actually say make sure it's cooked. Can you alternate the 3-bottle system with Trinity? For sure. Absolutely. Okay, so I am just going to go to the next thing that I would say. Obviously, we're talking about bitters. I'm just going to put this little doohickey up here because you probably won't be able to see the name of it because it's the light. But I love bitters. I remember asking my herbal teacher, if you could have just one supplement, what would it be? And she said bitters because it actually helps with your digestion. So you would take probably about 3 full droppers worth of the bitters. You put them in your mouth about 5 to 10 minutes before you eat, and that will help to stimulate digestive fire. It will help to increase bile flow, which is really important. And the reason why that it's so darn important to have bile flow is because it helps to carry out hormones, toxins. It's almost like the river that sort of carries it all out and then dumps it into your poop. So very, very important. The other thing, because as I mentioned to you guys before, that, there could be this connection with an autoimmune condition. I also would suggest adding in L-glutamine. You can do powder, and quite often you'll see L-glutamine in the sports section because it does help with muscle recovery. But if you do have a leaky gut, L-glutamine is phenomenal for a leaky gut because of the fact that it helps to actually rebuild the small intestine. And remember, when there's a leaky gut, there's actually those junctures that we talked about before, the little soccer players, the cutest Italian soccer players. They're not nice and tight like this against each other. They're more permeable like this, and stuff gets past it and into the bloodstream, and that's when we start to see inflammation. So with L-glutamine, generally what you'll see is about 1 scoop is 5 grams. What I'm suggesting here is to actually end up doing what I would do is I would actually work up to 20 grams of L-glutamine, 15 to 20 grams of L-glutamine. So if it's 15 grams, it's 3 little scoops in water. And I usually put it in something like this, okay? And I'll do that twice a day. So the max amount that you're looking at is about 40 grams. 5 grams is not, so 1 scoop is not a therapeutic dose. It's not really going to do very much. I mean, it's going to be helpful, but it's not going to do much. So up to 40 grams a day. Put it in your water. It tastes mildly sweet, so it's not bad. And I would do it away from food because amino acids tend to work better away from food. At least that's been my experience professionally. So I would put it in some water, have that throughout the day. Try to always look for great ways to spice up your water in a very natural way. You can add in chlorella, you can add in chlorophyll, you can add in L-glutamine. All these things actually help to nourish the water. And like I said, L-glutamine is phenomenal if, in fact, there is that autoimmune connection. Is that safe during pregnancy? It absolutely is safe during pregnancy. It's a great question. How do you take L-glutamine? Just answered that. Just want to make sure that take daytime or evening, doesn't matter because it's not stimulating. So it's a great question. But any time of the day away from food. I've been taking pretty high doses of it, as I mentioned, because I had the Norwalk virus at the top of this year. And the Norwalk virus just ravages the small intestine. So I'm always like super hyper aware of stuff like that. So that's from a digestive perspective. And we talk about digestion, we're talking about the liver as well. It's the reason why that I mentioned the bitters is super important. Starting your day off with something as simple as lemon water. You can even add in some of those bitters, as I mentioned, is super darn important. And remember, guys, I'm going to be giving away another one of these bottles shortly, so stay tuned. Liver health is obviously all wrapped into that. Then we sort of look at other things like, the estrogen profile. So if you've got your digestion and it's, starting to run a little bit better, it's starting to work a bit better, this takes time. So you have to be patient. And everyone's always kind of like, when I get there, I will be happy. But the idea that there is an actual destination is such a delusion. And I know this is going to sound morbid, guys, but the only destination is death. Because once you get to one destination, haven't you always found that you'll just end up creating another one? It's like this never-ending thing. So, and it's the same thing with health. Health is a journey. It's a part of it. And even for myself, I'm almost 40, and I look at it like there are different hormonal life cycles I'm going to go through in different little journeys and obstacles, etc. So you have to sort of consider it that way. Other supplements that I would really do I have to drink it all at once, says Anita, for the L-glutamine? No, you don't have to drink it all at once. Just, drink it twice a day is what I would suggest. So divvy up that dose. So 20 grams, 15 to 20 grams twice a day away from food. Another really great supplement. So we said probiotics, fish oils. Just looking at my notes here, also said fiber. Another great one that I would suggest is evening primrose. And usually what I suggest for some people, if I actually haven't seen a full assessment, done a full assessment with you, is I would suggest doing about 2,000 milligrams of evening primrose oil, which are in capsules. Probably at breakfast. You can do it at dinner if you want to, but I would do it from day 1 of your cycle, which is the first day of your period, to day 14. Okay? That's where I would generally start. In my hormone membership program, Sexy Lady Balls, everyone who comes in gets their own individualized attention in the sense that you fill out an assessment and then you get your own individualized protocol, which is amazing. I don't know any other online program that does that. So that is something that I would look at. But generally speaking, I would say day 1 to day 14. And the reason why evening primrose oil is so freaking fantastic, it is an omega-6, which might freak some people out because there's a lot of talk about how omega-6s are inflammatory. But the reality is there's something very different about evening primrose oil in the sense that it is rich in a fat, which is called gamma-linoleic acid, which is also known as GLA. And that's actually amazing because it's great for your hormones. And evening primrose oil also helps to support your progesterone levels. So how many of you guys here would actually say that you are super stressed? How many of you guys here would say you're super stressed? Let me know. And in answer to your question, Lynn, even though with your period, yes, even though. So day 1 of your period to day 14, okay? So how many of you guys would consider you're stressed? Because I would probably bet to say quite a few of you guys are. But if you are in a chronic level state of stress all the time, your stress hormones will begin to compete with your sex hormones, namely progesterone. And after the age of 35, our progesterone levels actually end up dipping substantially. And that's where women will see that their hair starts to thin, unexplained weight gain. They start to get what's called the progesterone blues. Their cycles can get super funky. These are all signs of it. But when you're stressed and for a long period of time, you almost accelerate that deficiency. And then right away, what we end up seeing is this estrogen dominant profile by comparison. And that's when we start to see women who develop fibroids or cysts or endometriosis, although endometriosis could be something more longstanding from even previous to that. But it could aggravate the actual issue. And as we even spoke about last time that we were doing this show, was that women who have endometriosis, actually there actually was 6 studies to show that women with endo have more issues with allergies than those who don't, or they're more predisposed, I should say, to allergies is probably a better way of putting it. And one of the reasons why is because estrogen actually stimulates mast cells, which secrete histamine. So estrogen stimulates histamine production, which will stimulate allergic reactions. So hay fever, ragweed, snow mold, all those things can actually be aggravated if there's a high level of estrogen. And I will say evening primrose is wonderful because you're trying to support that progesterone levels. It's the gamma-linoleic acid. Are really, really, really amazing. Melissa says, love my primrose. Frequent periods. I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that. Charisma says, yes, stress. I got to kick that pill. They make it so I only bleed once every 3 months so it doesn't grow. I see. I'd have to see your full profile in Sexy Lady Balls, but I would highly suggest that. Are you available for a personal one-on-one conversation afterwards? Yes, you can book in with my assistant, and I have packages available for coaching calls. So you can check in with her. Just email assistant@sexyfoodtherapy.com, and she'll provide you with my rates for that. So we talked about evening primrose oil. Super important for something like that. And last week we spoke a little bit about turmeric because turmeric actually helps with the regression of endometriosis, which is pretty phenomenal. But if you're going to be using it from a food perspective, you have to add coconut oil and black pepper, because black pepper, what makes it pungent is a component called piperine, and that helps to increase the bioavailability of turmeric by 2,000%. That's crazy. Bananas. Crazy, crazy, crazy. But you can get it available also in supplement form as well. And the last supplement that I want to talk to you guys before we quickly switch gears is inositol. Now, one of the things I have learned about women with high levels of estrogen, which are evident especially in endo, is sometimes they suffer from what I have seen as estrogen-related anxiety. And obviously there's a mindset component, but estrogen-related anxiety is a pretty real thing. And inositol is phenomenal for that. Inositol is actually a part of the B vitamin family. It's vitamin B9. You have to be very careful when you're taking it in powder form, which is a lot easier to control than the pill. You would take it with food, so just in a little bit of water, maybe in your smoothie. And you just start off at a very small dose. I usually say start off with half a teaspoon and work your way slowly up to 1 tablespoon of it. And you want to get anywhere between 750 milligrams to 900 milligrams of inositol at that one dose. But that's full dose, okay? The reason why you work up to it slowly is because of the fact, if you don't, inositol is also a nervine tonic. So it relaxes the nerves, which is awesome. But sometimes it can relax it a little bit too much, and you will get the rankiest farts you've ever had. So be careful, because trust me, your husband won't appreciate it. Mine didn't. So that's a really big one. Turmeric paste, you can totally do turmeric paste, absolutely, but remember, make sure that you get in those fats. Is a turmeric supplement a good idea? Yeah, you can totally do a turmeric supplement, but make sure that you're looking one that's going to be in a fat base. They tend to be a bit more expensive. So if you're like, going, ooh, this one was at a discount, and it's these like, ones you got at Costco, chances are you're wasting your money. So make sure you're getting something that is actually going to be higher quality. It's in a fat base. Nanotechnology is actually very good with turmeric supplements as well. So those are some of the big ones. So just a quick recap. We talked about probiotics, bitters, fiber potentially, evening primrose, inositol. Other forms of gamma linoleic acid is blue-green algae, hemp if you're looking for food sources. Those are really great options as well. Omega-3s are wonderful, and so is turmeric. But inositol, if you want to know how to spell it, INOS as in Sam, ITOL, inositol. I feel like I'm on the adult spelling bee, but that's how you spell it. Okay. And if you still didn't catch that, I can just reply to you on Facebook after this is done. The last thing. And so, aside from digestion, aside from the estrogen, aside from the autoimmune, the one biggest thing that pretty much every woman that I see in practice is missing. Can anyone guess it? And if you guess this right, I will give you another bottle of this, the Hepato-DR, because it's a phenomenal product. So let me know if you can write that down. What is the biggest thing? And you have to say it right. Oh, so close. Keep going. Monica's like, poo. No. All right. People are asking. I'm going to wait a couple more minutes. Okay. So you know what? Truthfully. Okay. The person who actually got it dead right, I don't want to say dead right, is Amy Sue Oldfather. Mindset. Mindset's massive. And I want to say it is self-care because obviously that's a huge part. But mindset I find is such a much better way to describe it. Women, you can't sit there. Like I remember seeing a quote that said, sometimes I just want my husband to grab me and throw me up against the wall and then say, I'll wash the dishes for you. And it's funny, sure, but at the end of the day, we also have to take radical responsibility for the fact that we might not be asking for help because I can do it better. He doesn't know, he can't do it as well, as good as I can, or I just don't feel like getting into it with him. We have to be able to speak to our partners in a way that's not attacking them. We have to be able to set boundaries, both with our husbands, with our children, with our friends, with our family, with our work. Boundaries are absolutely crucial, and all these things are all a part of changing your mindset. If you are somebody who walks through life, who complains often, who is the victim state mentality, which I will tell you, I swear to God, I feel like I created that word because I was one of the biggest victims. I was miserable, like constantly, loved to complain. It's almost like you commiserate with other people. But all of these things are, if that's where you're at, you will not get better. I don't care what food you eat. I don't care what supplements you take. But if your mindset sucks and your self-care sucks and you're blaming everyone in your life for how crappy your life is and how much pain you're in and you wish that you had this and, oh, once I get this, I will be happy, nothing will shift. Absolutely nothing will shift. The amount of women who come to me that have hormonal issues like endometriosis and say, Melissa, I'm trying this new regime, this new diet, this new supplement plan, everything, but then I just fall off the bandwagon. I'm like, you didn't fall off the bandwagon because you were self-sabotaging. Why did you fall off the bandwagon? What was one word to describe why you fell off of it? I'll get words like comfort. That's a really big one. Comfort, boredom. Those are the two biggest words I hear all the time. It's if you are falling off the bandwagon because you are seeking comfort, then that's an indication right there that your self-care needs to get one serious makeover. And it isn't just about, okay, I'm going to sleep a little bit more. It's like, no, create a ritual around this. Create boundaries. Talk to people who are close to you and tell them what you are going to do in the most loving way without attacking them so that they feel that, they're not going to respond to that. Those are really, really big things. The second thing is if you're like, well, I fell off the bandwagon, I just get bored. I'm bored. I hear that. You're not bored. You're uninspired. So then again, take radical responsibility for where you are and change things up. Because we're going to get older and we're going to have stressors in our lives, and we have to get inspired to live the most fulfilling lives that we can live. Absolutely. Karen's like, I love you. You rock. I love you too, girl. Is there a brand of inositol you recommend? Well, in Canada, I like the AOR, and in the States, I would say the Now brand is pretty decent. So really, really, really important, guys. And a lot of people roll their eyeballs to me. A lot of people roll their eyeballs when I talk about mindset and self-care. And I'm like, okay, cool. Don't want to believe me? Go do that supplement plan. Go try to eat well. Go try to exercise. But if you are just sitting here complaining and blaming everybody else in your life about how much your life sucks, it's not about being positive all the time. Mindset, having the proper mindset, I have learned, is not about being positive all the time. That's completely unrealistic. Completely unrealistic. You're not going to walk around like all day. Because if you are, people are going to think you're freaking crazy. What it's about, it's not about positivity. It's about perspective. 1000%. And if you are always down here with how you view everything in life, like think about it. When you go on a detox, doesn't everybody around you, like there's like donuts that come to the office, there's like, billboard signs of the big, pizza maybe that you would want to have. There's all of a sudden a social event, like all these things start coming. You want to know why? Because the universe tests you. And then the universe will sit there and quietly whisper, how bad do you want this? Because I'm going to test you like you've never been tested to see if you're up for it. And it's the reason why when I work with women in Sexy Lady Balls, mindset is massive. It's the reason why that we have a group, a support group that we all turn to each other and we talk about some very intimate things there. But you need that because half the times I see women with endo or PCOS or fibroids or any of these issues, they're depressed, they're anxious, they're angry, they're resentful. There's all these things. Their libido sucks. All these things just build up and they don't know what to do because they don't feel like no one gets them. But it's about it's all about taking radical responsibility. If you think that protecting your energy and changing your life is going to be about, wearing malas, which I love, crystals, which I have, but if you think that this is all going to change it because of that, you're kidding yourself. Totally freaking kidding yourself. The way to actually protect your energy is to take radical responsibility for where you're giving it away. Period. And if you're giving it away everywhere, that is up to you to set massive boundaries, because boundaries are not about putting up walls. It's about creating space so you can love bigger. The second I did that in my life, my relationships with my family just expanded, where I was fighting with family members like crazy, fighting with my husband, feeling depleted, crying, all those different types of things. And what happens when all that happens and you're stressed? You eat and you're not craving a salad when you eat and you're stressed. You crave carbs. You crave alcohol, things that break down to sugar. If you're like, well, I'm a salty kind of girl, cool. Potato chips, it breaks down to sugar because it's still a carb. Pizza breaks down to sugar. All of these things are going to impact endo. So if your mindset isn't up to par, none of this is going to work. I don't care if it's an autoimmune thing. None of it is going to work, guys. So I have to be super clear about that. So I really, really, really want to say that. Corey Lynn says, are you willing to set an example of the boundaries you have set with your family and how? Yes. So what I can tell you this much right now, I love my family. I have a phenomenal family. I'm also somebody who loves to give. I love to give. And sometimes I would feel that with certain family members, I was giving a lot and then expecting them to give the same way. And it wasn't happening. So I realized, well, I need to stop doing that, not because I want to love this person less, because it wasn't about that. It was just more, I have to take responsibility where I'm giving so much to the point that it's actually depleting me because I'm expecting something in return. When I actually set that boundary of, I'm not going to give that much and I'm not going to go out of my way to do these certain things. I'm not going to be bitchy about it, but I'm just going to just handle my shit first. Take care of Melissa first. Mask on first, then mask on to you. I actually had a much better relationship. And you know what happened? That family member started to actually give. It literally changed everything. Shonda says, yes, energy. I just learned about this and a friend said I'm super bright green. Deaf learning more about crystals. It's true, but the crystals are not going to protect you. Like, I'm a huge fan of crystals and malas and all that jazz, but it's not going to protect you. Like, if you're just sitting there not taking responsibility for anything in your life, and I can guarantee you, the women I always work with at the start of it, like, that's when I'm like, okay, we need to just grab you and make sure that you're taking radical responsibility for yourself because it is super important. I love that. Trade your expectations for appreciation. Yeah, that's exactly. Tony Robbins had said that just recently. That is huge. Ashley said, so true. Once I became a cold-hearted bitch and started saying no to things I didn't want to do and doing whatever I want in my time, I magically got healthier and nicer, ironically. Here's the reality. When I say to have boundaries, it doesn't mean you have to be a cold-hearted bitch. And if that's what you're taking out of that, then you're getting it completely wrong. When I say that you have to set boundaries, when I set boundaries with people in my life, I wasn't doing it and being rude. I wasn't doing it and being a cold-hearted bitch. I was actually being super sweet and lovely. I just was looking after myself first. And that was a really big thing. So huge, huge, huge difference on that one, okay? So that's a really, really big thing, guys. Now, I have included in the link in this post to get my free endometriosis guide. If you have not gotten it, please make sure that you grab that. We've got those 2 winners for the St. Francis Hepato DR. And I do want to make sure if you guys can just do this for me right now, if you guys can give me a thumbs up, give me a heart, share this live stream right now so that other people can see it. If you guys can all do that, I would really super appreciate that as much as possible. And just know, guys, we end up doing, I'm just going to turn this down just a wee bit. We end up doing this live stream every single week on Thursdays. I'm super excited about them. We're getting a great response from you guys. And I'd love to be able to hear how you guys are feeling about this. Make sure that you share this right now. If you haven't done so, please make sure you share this. If you loved it, you dug this information, and you want to continue seeing more episodes of SFT TV, share this right now. Because weekly, we're going to be giving away some prizes. Weekly, I'm going to be giving you the goods. And next week, I'm going to have Natasha Trenev. I'm going to be interviewing her, and we are going to be talking about the B word, bloating. And I'm thrilled about that. So, if you guys haven't done so yet, share this before you go, please and thank you. I've got everybody saying, digging it. You're liking it? Loving it? Loving SFTV? Good, because I put a lot of work into this. Share it and telling all my friends. Yes, I love that. Guys, Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening, and I will see you next Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Pacific. Tune in then. I love you guys, and have yourselves a wonderful Thursday. And make sure to download that free endometriosis guide. The link is in this post. See ya.